It was the sudden appearance of a warp storm at the Kaurava system's outer edge that first caught the attention of the Imperium, and not just the Imperium. After hundreds of years under the neglectful watch of the Imperial Guard, nearly every force in the galaxy would descend upon the planet of Kaurava, bent only on domination and victory. 3 races had long dwelled in there. The Imperial Guard, its supposed rulers, the Orc tribes of Kaurava II, which the Guard had never successfully put down, and the Necron, who had slept undisturbed for untold millennia beneath Kaurava III. Where the Chaos Marines came from, or how, none can say. Did the Warp Storm bring them, or did they bring the Warp Storm? Both appeared suddenly on Kaurava IV, and in an eye blink, half the system's Imperial forces were gone, killed or claimed by the madness of chaos. In quick succession, the others flocked to Kaurava. The Space Marines, the Imperium's super soldiers, descended on Kaurava II, planning to finally cleanse the system, both of the troublesome Orcs and the Chaos Marines, the sworn mortal enemies. The DOW appeared next, not far above, on one of the planet's moons. In the interests of protecting its ordered empire from the effects of human folly, the DOW came seeking to contain the Warp Storm, and in so doing, expand the territory's border. On their moon, they built a mighty fortress, and there forged a space cannon capable of interplanetary devastation. Among the wastes of Kaurava III, the Necrons, perhaps awakened by the disruptive forces of the Warp Storm, slowly massed their lethal legions. In quick response, webway gates, long unused, flickered to life, and Eldar poured forth, ready to battle their dark, death-dealing adversaries. Meanwhile, in the shadow of an ancient portal gate, the Dark Eldar slipped stealthily out of the murky depths of the webway. They would be like carrion birds, flying above the battlefield, and when all were weary from the fight, make the battlefield into a feasting ground. Last to arrive, and perhaps most to be feared, were the Sisters of Battle, holy maidens and bearers of the God Emperor's faith. They had come to cleanse the system of corruption and filth. Their faith left them fanatical, unafraid of death and solace in their cause. Nothing here was clean. All must be purged. Now, war rages anew, and only the victorious may write their history. Only the victorious will claim the planets of Kaurava. The Dark Eldar little feared an attack on their base of operations, situated as it was on the dark side of the moon, well within the reaches of the Warp Storm of Kaurava IV. The 7th Ancient Gate lay on that moon, but the Dark Eldar, knowing its technology well, had fixed it to work only for them when they had arrived there. The effect of this hubris and the general anarchic nature of Archon Tarrel's soldiers resulted in a sprawling makeshift reproduction of Komorrah, the Dark Eldar home city. Surrounding the major war camp lay smaller camps, surrounded by miles of torture ground, a sort of cage garden of the homunculus Grumanael's making. Rich with plunder, enslaved scraps and goods, this area had grown and sprawled. Meanwhile, the center grew dense with powerful Dark Eldar and the legendary Asdrubael Vecht, leader of Taril's Blackheart Cabal, was said to oversee the war preparations there. To say the Dark Eldar were unprepared for an attack would not be quite accurate. The Dark Eldar are ever ready for battle. It is a sport and a passion to their kind, and there is no such thing as catching them off their guard. Nonetheless, the miles of torture gardens were poorly attended at best, and full of prisoners, many still capable of turning against their captors. For an attacker, there was a faint glimmer of hope.
We are fresh from the fight. We have shed blood. Death, terror, and anguish sang sweetly in our ears.
But Lord Tarrel, have you taken prizes?
Do you doubt me, Grumenea? Many prisoners were taken. We have our tribute to Komorrah, and many left over from our slave chambers, and your torture grounds.
Come, Archon! Come to my torture grounds. We win and lose. But always richer. Rich with slaves and spoils.
Indeed, we shall be well respected and rewarded when we return to Komorrah.
When we return, if we return. Return the victors. Return the vanquished. My grounds, where screams are flowers and pain their fragrance. Fine nest we have. High upon the cliff, hard to see, hard still to reach. Will they reach this nest? Will they take away my garden?
Are you questioning my right to lead? My inevitable victory? I am the deadly shadow and the bird of prey. I am the poisoned dagger that brings swift death. These crude and foolish armies know nothing of strategy. If they see a wall, they attack it. If they see an army, they charge at it. They will be too busy with each other to notice us. Or if they do, it will be too late. Worry not. And it is of no matter, we keep a keen watch. If an army approached, surely we would see it coming. Then we would tear it to pieces.
You fool! I will have your head for this! Quickly, back to Komorrah!
Well, if he had died, I should have taken his place. Now I must flee.
You will be killed by traitors' hands! Kill! Kill! Death to the enemy! Chaos Lord Feravius Charon had grown weary of the pestilential nuisance of the Dark Eldar, and felt the time had come to crush them under the pitiless hammer of his Alpha Legion Chaos Space Marines. Had the Dark Eldar refrained from conducting raids on their chaotic comrades, they might have prospered in safety upon Karava IV's single moon. But alas, their time had come. The Archon Tauriel's band of pillagers were no match for a full army of Chaos Space Marines. Unable to hide or run in their own base camp, the Dark Eldar fell before the invaders' fire. The Dark Eldar, who were not slaughtered or fled, found themselves subject to their vanquishers' cruel games. The heretic Chaos Space Marines made sport of their victims in the very cages and torture chambers in which their own brethren had been made to suffer. A just reward indeed, from the evil to the depraved. More than any other race, the Eldar concerned themselves with the distant past and the distant future. In visions, Farseer Keris anticipated the reawakening of their ancient foes, the Necrons and Kaurava III. A webway gate, unused for many millennia, flickered to life. In the blink of an eye, a barren tract of the wasteland planet became a sprawling base of operations, and the Eldar army poured forth from it. Just as quickly, this stronghold vanished from the naked eye, concealed by Eldar artifice. The Eldar had learned long ago that no bulwark, no matter how strong, could halt the slow, implacable progress of the Necrons. Only illusion, deceit, and misdirection could accomplish that goal. And these are things at which the Eldar are peerless. The Eldar had prepared a harrowing gauntlet for their invaders, with all the feints and deceptions they could muster. This stronghold was not just a foothold, not just a key strategic point, not just home to many Eldar secrets. No! Through its long history, it had become sacred to the craft world Eldar, and they would defend it accordingly.
They approach. We are prepared.
Yes, Farseer, but
Yes,
must we fight?
we shall fight. They must never suspect. They shall come, expecting the obvious, the simple, the artless. They shall stab at the shadows with confused minds and troubled hearts. Meanwhile, we shall appear unseen from 10 directions, and from every one, strike a fatal blow. Do you know the history of this place, which we call Esselir Talith and the young races call the Upper Wastes?
We, the Eldar, made our war camp here, in a past age.
Yes, that is so. Our ancestors came here to fight the Necrons when they were an overwhelming wave that swept the worlds. This system was one of their stages of destruction, their foundries of undeath. Our ancestors defeated them here. We constructed our war operations center here as an illusion. No brute army, no simple display of force could uncover its secrets, and none ever shall. No, it is more than an illusion. It is a clever trap, this place our ancestors forged. It is a net covered in leaves that the savage beast willingly stands on, tempted by a bloody morsel, only to find itself hoisted, trapped, at the hunter's mercy. No, we shall guard our secret. No force can strike a target it cannot find. We shall not yield up our foothold on this world. Kaurava was once ours, and shall be ours again. We came here long, long ago. We did battle with our deathless foes, the Necrons, and won. This day we have lost. If they swarm again like locusts here, some other must stop them. For we shall be gone.
Annihilate them! Annihilate them! Kill! Kill! You will be killed by traitorous hands! Frustrated by their elusive tactics, Chaos Lord Feravius Charon felt a growing ire towards the Eldar. His longing to crush these troublesome foes, combined with his desire to claim the barren lands of the Upper Wastes for a great temple and testament to the powers of chaos, ensured that the Alpha Legion would attack at their stronghold without great delay. Soon Lord Charon could wait no longer, and his Chaos Space Marines struck with deadly might and fury. They thwarted the many tricks and traps that Farseer Keris set, unleashing havoc in their wake. After the enemy were routed and the Farseer had fled, Charon loosed his men to hunt and torture the remaining Eldar. After nothing living was left, the Chaos Space Marines took to looting and destroying the Eldar structures and stores. It may never be known what first awakened the cold legions of the Necron from their vast burial vaults in the southern coast of Kaurava III. Archives suggest that Imperial Guard survey crews may have been dispatched to coastal Emosa several months before the conflict. Others point to the strange and unknown influence of the warp storm, which could somehow have roused the deathless Necrons from their slumber. Out of the dry Emosan sands, an ancient complex emerged. Part burial ground, part power plant, part staging ground. As builder scarabs removed sands and restored structures to power, its clean-cut, symmetrical, and lifeless form emerged. It pulsed with the green glow of the strange power which fuels the Necrons. Vast reserves of it. Enough to drive an endless stream of monoliths and Necron soldiers. Anyone foolish enough to assail this unearthed necropolis would do well to heed that flow of energy. It is the source of the Necron's power, and if unchecked, there is little limit to what strength Necrons could marshal against their foes. So, they come.
give you energy. Drink of it and awake. They shall meet their ends. They shall join the army of death.
In truth, the Necrons and the forces of chaos have little in common other than their enemies. Where one is a cold and silent army of death and dominion, the other revels in wild noise, mutation, and action. When the Alpha Legion found themselves standing above the cold necropolis that had emerged from the Emosan sands, they saw not just a foe, but the one thing which in their mad power and zeal they feared and abhorred: subservience, silence, the void. In the Battle of Emosa, the wild powers of the Chaos Gods proved themselves in every way superior to the older Catan gods of death. Even when one of these gods, the Great Deceiver, was summoned to fight in corporeal form against the Alpha Legion. By the time they were done, nothing was left of the ancient Necron city. All had been toppled, shattered, and smashed to dust. The Imperial Guard's headquarters in the Dusala precinct of the city planet of Kaurava 1 was also the system's primary Bane Blade production facility. Under the strong and capable leadership of the new Governor-General Vance Stubbs, the Guardsmen were once again well-supplied, armed, and organized. Any attacker would find themselves facing a formidable amount of firepower. Since the outbreak of the Warp Storm on Kaurava 4, the Imperial Guard had known a humbling series of setbacks. Losing a full 3/4 of their fighting men was just a start. General Stubbs was determined to triumph in the face of this and all other adversity. Unfortunately, a full regiment of Baneblade tanks, the Guard's armored superweapon, had that very day been dispatched to various territories throughout the Kaurava system. The Dusala Precinct headquarters was thus left without a single Baneblade to its advantage. But they had their factories. Repair parts, munitions, and operating crews were moved via a system of convoys to the centrally located Mars pattern buildings, which produced the tanks. These convoys, then, were to be the Imperial Guard's weakest link, and also their greatest hope.
How are the men?
Tolerable, sir.
Morale?
Good at Central, poor in the front.
Casualties?
The same, sir.
Firing squads?
20 today, 12 for cowardice in the line of duty.
Baneblade production?
Tank crew, munitions and parts are arriving by convoy on schedule, sir. As you know, it takes only the most highly trained crew to properly operate a...
I know.
Very good, General.
How many do we have on hand?
Unfortunately, sir, a shipment of 100 Baneblades has just gone out to serve.
I see. Look at this. Once this was a fine city, gleaming beacon of the Emperor's light, a center of industry. Now look at it. Commissar, I would like to see this city built up again. I would like to see towers and spires of gleaming white. I would like to see our men on parade routes, not tours of duty. I would like to see every city in this planet, every colony in this besotted, miserable system turn to the service and industry of the Imperium in the Emperor's name.
In the Emperor's name, sir.
But to see my dreams fulfilled, first we must wipe the system clean of these blasted Xenos and heretics and monsters and zealots. And to do that, this base, our center of command, must operate free of danger or harassment. Our troops are ready. Our tanks and our sentinels. And if the Emperor wills it, we will have functioning Baneblades. Tell me, Commissar, are we prepared? Or will we be lambs taken to slaughter? Well, we'll do what we can and pray for victory. The enhanced Basilisk cannon has been prepared by our tech priest engineers, has it not? It can be fired at will.
Very good, General.
It only requires an artillery spotter. We shall place our faith in the God Emperor.
In the Emperor's name, sir.
That will have to do the job. As always, we place faith in the Emperor. All I fought for, all my work, crushed. Crushed! All the good men who gave their lives for this cursed, this blasted system! Though my army lies in ruins today, I have not done fighting, and I will remember who my enemies are.
In Karava 4, Lord Charon's forces had wiped out in a single blow the 253rd and 254th Conservator Regiments of the Imperial Guard. Then, after crossing the entire system in a war path of blazing conquest, they came to face the 252nd Regiment in their heavily defended city stronghold. The Alpha Legion no longer had the element of complete surprise, or the Warp Storm to their advantage. But the result was the same: utter victory for Chaos. The Alpha Legion considered this conquest a strike against the Imperium itself. Lord Charon let his Chaos Space Marines, cultists, and other forces loose upon the city. The Guardsmen were rounded up. Those that did not turn over to Chaos immediately did so out of madness after a little torture. And very few died faithful to their false Emperor. Although Stubbs himself had somehow escaped, the broken bodies of his top officers were set up high upon a stage as a token and trophy of the day. The Sisters of Battle rely greatly on their faith. It is their sustenance and their shield. When they first came to the tainted world of Kaurava, Confessor Turganum March was quick to see how much holy light and fire it would take to cleanse the 4 planets. He therefore brought the living Saint Anais and placed her in their primary bastion in Sama on Kaurava 1. Following a secret and ancient practice, the living saint was imbued with the inviolable aura, an aura of invincibility which would prevent any chance, he thought, of defeat. Guarded at the last by this inviolable aura, the Sisters of Battle marched with great surety. Who, in truth, would dare oppose them? What adversary could faith and fire not sweep from before them? In the face of chaos and vile aliens, the Sisters of Battle merely redoubled their fervent prayers and penances and fought on. They came to believe that glorious victory was the only outcome. The idea that any would dare attack their mighty bastion was unthinkable. The possibility that their bastion could fall beyond belief.
Good, she comes.
Sisters, the living holy saint of the Emperor, Saint Anais, scourge of heretics. Now, in the name of the Emperor!
Good.
There, it is done. May the Emperor's blessing carry us on to victory, sisters!
We thank you, honored martyr.
So... it is true, then. These blessed shrines will confer invincibility?
Indeed, within each shrine lies a true and sacred relic of the ecclesiarchy. Now that the edifices have been blessed by a living saint, they confer upon her the inviolable aura, as scribed and fervently mastered by the great ecclesiarch Jonasiah Vuonis.
And wherever she goes, no harm may befall us?
Precisely. Neither our persons nor our belongings.
One pure bright candle amidst a sea of filth and darkness!
That is well said, Canoness. This is a tainted system. It may, in fact, be irredeemable.
Then we shall purge it with fire. I have yet to find a cinder that was not faithful in its praise of the Emperor. All is made ready? Yes, mistress. Good. These would-be conquerors shall have a taste of our fire and faith. The Emperor will punish them through us.
Destroy the weak! Annihilate them! Rejoice in their
Sisters, we must go as martyrs! We must go in flames! In flames!
Space Marines, the Alpha Legion found a natural enemy in the Sisters of Battle. If anything, the Sisters Militant stood even closer to the false Emperor, whose destruction they were sworn to perpetrate. In the Order of the Sacred Rose, the Soldiers of Chaos saw more than revolting pious zeal. They saw manifest evidence of the Emperor's powers through the Sisters of Battle's many acts of faith. Spurred by these considerations and the active threat the Sisters of Battle posed, Lord Charon resolved on a direct attack. He would prove definitively the superiority of the Chaos Gods. The Alpha Legion Chaos Space Marines certainly proved their own superiority that day, routing the Sisters of Battle and spurning their powers, prayers, and their living saint alike. Of the dark ceremonies and horrible atrocities that the victorious soldiers of chaos perpetrated there in the Sama district, it is not best to give a full account. Under the orders of Lord Charon himself, however, several particularly horrible examples were blasted into space, in a path that would surely be intercepted by an Imperial battle fleet. The vast Tau military complex on Karava II's second moon had always been intended for purposes above and beyond the current war. In a Tau-dominated solar system, this complex would become a key outpost on the Empire's border. This moon base had been named Nan Yanoi, or Sword Moon, referring to the powerful Arca cannon built there. This weapon could fire its devastating ion beam on any territory of any planet in the system. Heavy fortifications and anti-aircraft arrays were not enough for the Earth-cast architects of Nan Yanoi. To these, they added an ambitious orbital perimeter defense system, which would fire ion beams similar to that of the Arca cannon, tuned to harm only intruders and spare Nan Yanoi's infrastructure from any damage. When complete, Nan Yanoi would be unassailable. Unfortunately, the Tau stronghold was attacked before it was complete. Many systems and fortifications were not yet fully operational, including the perimeter defense system. An invasion fleet could be shot down, but they could not as easily protect against a small force from making a beachhead at one of the gaps in the Tau's outer defenses. Such a feat would be extraordinarily difficult, but it might just be possible.
Welcome your gracious presence, Aun Royu. I see that our Earth-cast engineers have made splendid progress in constructing the Nan Yanoi base station. Yes, Your Eminence, it is nearly complete. There are only a few gaps remaining in our perimeter defenses, and they are heavily guarded until our orbital defense system is fully operational.
Setting stabilizers. Ready to fire.
Excellent. And this Arca cannon you have built, quite a marvel, as I understand it. Indeed. From this moon, we can fire on any habitable territory in the Kaurava system. Do you wish to inspect it yourself? It harms only advanced life forms, thus avoiding damage to structures and plant life. This is indeed most commendable. Our orbital defenses were built using the same technology. Both are controlled from this location. What is that? The perimeter has somehow been breached. I must attend to this. Please, Your Excellence, return to the Coalition Center. Yes, that may be best. Dispatch Pathfinders, locate the source of the breach, and see that they do not gain entrance and establish a foothold. Notify all Fire Warriors and Kroot Carnivore squads. Let us hope that our defenses are strong enough to hold them. Keep firing! Keep firing! Noble Ethereal! Oh, we have lost you! We have lost all!
The DOW were wholly unprepared for the fury with which the forces of chaos assailed their moonbase on Nan Yanoi. With no innate relation to the warp, and no psychers at their command, the DOW could not anticipate the many augmented powers that made the Alpha Legion such fearsome adversaries. The tortures and foul ceremonies performed upon the helpless DOW that were not fortunate enough to die in battle are beyond description. Within hours of the sack of Nan Yanoi, the base was covered in its defenders' blood, and the carcass of their beloved Ethereal hoisted upon the barrel of the Arca cannon, the one piece of the DOW base that Lord Charon did not see fit to desecrate. It was no secret that it was the warbus Gorguts himself who led the Wa in the Kaurava conflict. But who were the orcs he led? Imperial records indicate that these orcs had always been in Kaurava, going back at least a millennium. It seems that when Gorguts arrived, they welcomed him as a long-awaited hero. These rugged Koravan orcs had sometimes overrun the system's 4 planets, and sometimes been beaten back to their secret stronghold in the Rockclaw Mountains. There had never once been a successful attempt to breach the vast hideout there, and the orcs believed there never could be. But in the past, these orcs had always retreated to this place in great numbers at the first sign of defeat. Gorgut saw such behavior as un-orky. He insisted that you had to take a bolter round or 2 if you wanted to win. And Gorguts lived only to win. Gorgut's strategy meant that the orc stronghold was not invincible. But this did not mean that it was undefended. Reaching the lair was one thing. Penetrating its defenses was entirely another.
You see, Big Boss Gorgut, this here's the strongest and bestest orc hold has ever held an orc.
Oh, is that so then?
Ain't no Yumi's got in here ever. With the Rockclaw Mountains all round us, there's only one way in. Even if there was to get in, they'd have all the boys to face. Oh, and the knobs, and the tanks. Then there's the squig-offs.
Say they beat all that.
That's when we get them with the fighter bombers. We'd squash them to a pulp. We got watchers watching day and night. Nobody but an orc gets close to us without we see them and crush them to smithereens. Boss! Boss! There's enemies in the camp! What? In the camp? We gotta stop them before they gets to the killing spot. Them drums! Beat the drums! Get to 'em!
What's this here killing spot?
Beat the drums!
We've got to hold the killing spot!
Bestest orc hold ever, huh?
My Orkhold! My beautiful Orkhold!
I've had enough of this. Come on, boys. Let's get out of here.
Over the course of thousands of battles, the Chaos Lord Feravius Charon had developed cruelly keen instincts. Charon felt that he must crush the Orc threat soon, or risk losing his foothold in the Karava system. He consulted his head sorcerer, only to have his suspicions confirmed by a divination. Gorged on bloodshed and strung with chaos, the Alpha Legions crushed the Orc forces. They tore through the ancient Orc stronghold, an enclave untouched by intruders for millennia. While his crazed, victorious soldiers butchered and burned the vanquished army, Lord Charon stalked the ground suspiciously, looking for Gorguts, his nemesis. Again, his instincts had proved true. The Great Orc was nowhere to be found. Still, the victory was won. No orcs would trouble the ascendancy of chaos. The Blood Ravens had learned the value of speed and mobility through hard battlefield experience. Force Commander Boreal, who had studied under the famed Commander Angelos, sought to make his reliance on stationary defensive structures as small as possible. Therefore, rather than build up the Space Marines' Central Command, entire companies were reserved in the fleet above Kaurava II. These would be ready to deep strike with deadly speed into any territory, including the Blood Raven's own headquarters. If attacked by an enemy, drop pods would cover the Marine stronghold in a steely, thunderous hail, swarming the Space Marines' enemies with super soldiers and dreadnoughts. Force Commander Boreal was sure of his plan. His greatest weapon was, after all, the superiority of the Space Marines themselves. Who could weather such a rapid and devastating defensive tactic?
Commander Boreal, enemy forces in our perimeter.
Where?
Southern Quadrant, but they were on the move. Current location unknown.
There is no time to be lost. Battle, brothers! Space Marines, today the enemy is at our door. We know our duty and we will do it. We fight for our honor as Blood Ravens, as Space Marines, and we fight in the name of the Emperor. And if we die this day, we die in glory. We die heroes' deaths, but we shall not die. No, it is the enemy who will taste death and defeat. As you know, most of our battle brothers are stationed in space, prepared to deep strike. Our perimeter has been prepared in the event that our enemies should be so bold and so foolish. We have placed numerous beacons, allowing for multiple, simultaneous, and devastating defensive deep strikes. Codex Astartes names this maneuver Steel Rain. We will descend upon the foe. We will overwhelm them. We will leave none alive. Meanwhile, our ground forces will ensure the full defense of our headquarters. We are the Space Marines. We are the Emperor's Fury. Have failed. The Emperor.
When Chaos Lord Faravius Charon set foot upon the outer edge of the Lands of Solitude, he could feel his greatest of victories fast approaching. Already, he had beaten the legendary Blood Ravens back to the very door and left them cowering in their own stronghold. Emboldened by this turn of events, the Alpha Legion pressed on towards the headquarters of their ancient enemy and there engaged in battle. If the Blood Ravens had not fought so well, Lord Charon would not so thoroughly have relished their defeat. His Alpha Legion Chaos Space Marines, with chaos coursing through their veins, with screams and great acts of barbarity, had countered the enemy at every turn until victory was won. Although the dead Space Marines were horribly desecrated in the aftermath, it was those who somehow survived that were truly to be pitied. The dying Commander Boreal was forced to watch many of these unspeakable atrocities before the last trickle of life drained from his body. Lord Charon dedicated the Lands of Solitude to chaos, renaming the land in demonic Sagrebriot. But his men called the place another thing entirely, Raven's Blood, for all that they had shed that day. Once, there was a simple soldier who was ignorant that he possessed latent abilities as a psyker. Without training, he could not guard himself, and the gods of chaos whispered to him, driving him feverishly mad. They made him carry out certain plans, perform certain black rites, so that a terrible rift in space and time was forged. Chaos poured out. The Alpha Legion appeared, and the warm storm blossomed from the rift. The gods gloried in their deed. Led by Chaos Lord Faravius Charon, the Alpha Legion spread, slaughtered, and conquered. No force, not even the mortal enemies, the Imperial Space Marines, could withstand the wrath. 9 armies vied for the cowl of the system, and Chaos proved mightiest of them all. The 4 Kaurivan planets now teem with the strange and twisted forms of chaos. Demons walk openly, and the warp storm grows in size and strength. The Alpha Legion, under Lord Charon, make ready for a far greater war against their oldest and most hated of enemies, the Imperium of Man.